I don't work with water. I live on water. From my very childhood, I had been in love with water. But not only water as people see, this fluid, and then only see oceans or rivers or things. But anything who is related to water or who need water, humans, animals, soils, the planet needs water. Then my work always has been to think how to help the water. This is my job with water, to help the water. It's not just probiotics. When I started my job in water, my first big job in water was to clean the river of my city in Colombia, Medellin. The municipality wants to bring back the river to life and have fish, like our grandparents fishing in the river. Then the first job I had as a student in the university has to do something we call the characterization of the river. That means to find the amount of pollution in the river. Then I find out how bad we were in that time. Then in that time, as classical engineer, we think in very astronomical solutions, concrete solutions, costly solutions. But we did it. Not bad, but we did it and did well. But with the time, when I met Dr. Teruhiga, my professor, Japanese professor, I found out that these small living things that we cannot see can do the same job that the concrete without so much investment. That I engaged with Dr. Higa only because we can clean water using living things. And so far I can tell you has not been bad. I had clean dams, I had clean lakes, I had clean rivers, I had been in disasters, post-Katrina, post-earthquakes, like Chile and Haiti, floods, many countries floods. You are full of water, no? Everywhere you have fire in one flood, but you cannot drink the water. Then I find out that that's living good beneficial microorganisms called probiotics can do the job. And I engage with them. And it's my 24/7 job. I never stop thinking what to do for water with them. And I start my week with Alma, this small probiotics dream. We only focus on water. We realize that if we tackle the problem of users in the chemicals that we use in our single day, shampoos, soaps, dish cleaning, laundry cleaning, basically laundry with the washing machine, so much damage in our water bodies and Auroville, septic systems, water treatment plants, badly affected for foam, phosphates, sulfates. And the madness in people cleaning houses with chlorines and with phenols and all these things. One day, I could not bear with that. I told with Alma, we had to stop ourselves. And we start to do what we do today. Try to thinking that when you wash your clothes, the solution is not in what you put in the washing machine. It's what will happen when they go through the washing machine in the drains. You are damaging the earth. Then we say, no, we had to stop. We had to bring alternatives. We had to, you are a busy person. I recognize, I am. Then we arrive at home, but we want to do something good for earth. But I am married, I had children, I have no time. But still I want to do something what I can do, what I can do. And then these people, consciousness growing, but what can do? Then just we say, do you know what to do? Take bath, or wash, or clean, or do your dishes, but do it with some conscience. And these little microorganisms will take the job from the drains. And this is my motive. This is what I really study and learn, and I now realize that that was my job, Mother said, when I come to Auroville. My life has been all the time is teaching people what to do with sensitivity with water, at least. Then, when I am invited to go and do conference, wherever I go, it's just to engage this forum in simple tasks. For example, my first question to you and all the audience, what is water for you? Then you answer the question, what is water? It's one fluid, one liquid. This is the blue planet. We are blue. We are almost no blue now. But this is the water concept we have, the fluid. But the people don't connect dots. Water is who support life. Then if there is no water, there is no life.
About 10 years ago, I got involved in research on water quality to improve the quality of water. So we started to do tests and trials on different technologies to treat water and to transform it. Now I've just fully dedicated myself to water. And how do I do that? One, I've got the distribution work going on. The other thing I've dreamt of always to have a lab that can test water precisely and accurately and give us like the tools to actually analyze it in all its forms. So I'm in the process of setting up a nationally accredited lab, and it's being set up in Alankupam in Pondicherry. And that's actually for the research work as well as for the rest of India to use. That lab and that work is actually connecting me to the rest of the world in India, because it's something bigger, and I believe that work is actually relevant to what Auroville needs to do with water in the next years. I am passionate about growing food, and I believe Auroville should be self-sufficient in food supply. So in the long term, if we have less water, we need to get into farming like hydroponics. So I'm doing research and experiments with that. There's three aspects of my work in water actually. One is the testing that I'm doing with the lab, because that's very important to actually have accurate results. And then the two other aspects are research, which we're doing for water treatment and seawater utilization. And the third part is education. We want to actually educate people about the details of water and what is in it and how to treat it and stuff like that. And that has to happen at all different levels, in the schools and in situations like this where we can share. So in the future you will see a lot more happening with us where we will be sharing that.
We, that is my team, EcoPro, we work in the fields of ecological, environmental concerns, mainly soil and water related, and public hygiene. The first fact or the first conditions we have to be aware of wherever we work, in Auroville or anywhere else in Tamil Nadu typically, is to be aware of the volumes of water that are cycled in that specific region. So the water cycle is a general phenomenon. School children learn it, but the water cycle at the Coromandel coast, Pondicherry in Chennai, moves different volumes than the water cycle in Rajasthan in the Thar Desert or in the Atacama Desert, Chile or wherever. So the actual amounts of water cycled in a region differ widely. So the fields of work, one is farming, organic farming. In farming we promote or we educate towards, we teach, we demonstrate the building of living soil, which has to do with microbiota, and microbiota, bacteria, fungi, anything. All living organisms need water, so it always has to do with water. If we talk about life in living organisms, you talk about water. So the importance of moisture and how to deal with water management. The crop choice should be in sync with the rainfall. Kaveri Delta, the Kaveri estuary, is probably a fine region for at least 2 seasons of paddy, but again, Rajasthan is not. Then we teach and demonstrate landscaping for surface water harvesting, for surface water, rainwater collection, which is in farming as important as it is for the urban scenario. Then it's about diversity of crops, never a monocrop, diversity of crops. Not only of crops, diversity of flora in general, diversity of ecosystems within a larger farm area or within a larger farm. All this helps to deal adequately with the water and how to keep it running and falling, and how to create a pleasant atmosphere to live. So organic farming is one area we work in, another area is sanitation, same principle. Sanitation should be organized with as little water as possible, whatever that means. The northeast of India has different amounts, they can deal with water differently. But other places have to save water extremely, and I would say avoid the production of wastewater as much as possible. So we promote dry toilets, we promote urine diversion, urine separation. We don't want to produce volumes of dirty wastewater which then need something, a technology to undo the damage we have done. So keep the production of wastewater as small as possible. Whatever you have produced, reuse as much as possible. Whatever you have already collected, surface water collection, whatever it is, maximally reuse, recycle. These are the principles. And then the last context, or one more major context, is drinking water, the safety of drinking water. And here again, I have the impression that many people do not understand the background, or do not know the background behind these standards. Many people know that in drinking water there should be 0 E. coli bacteria, 0 count. But there is nothing like 0. It has to be 0 per a certain quantity. So what is this 0 per? If there is 0 E. coli in 100 ml, there could be 9 in a liter. So is that 9 in a liter now the problem? People don't deal with these standards in any rational or knowledgeable way. So these are the 3 of the major fields we work in, and they already illustrate our approach to water issue to a large extent.
Here in Auroville, over the years, the main challenge we had was we didn't have enough funding for the infrastructure. So, for example, for the distribution network in Orishilpam, we've never been supported by government grants. We only got one grant once for a big tank. So all the money that was raised for the infrastructure came from individuals and units that were generous to support it. So that's been the challenge here. In other zones of Auroville, there were government grants for actually establishing the roads and infrastructure, but here in this zone we have not received enough of that. The other challenges that I face, like for example, setting up a lab is, it's something at a very large financial and capital investment. It requires a lot of support in that sense for the equipment and all. And for me, it was very difficult to actually imagine where it would come from. And so I had to really surrender a lot and ask the mother to guide me, and she did. And I think I'm sort of finding my way every day. I get direction and I discover how to do it.
I don't think people have a very realistic approach to water, or there's a disconnect. If you make someone aware of there is a need for saving water, then suddenly they become water aware, water conserving, water conscious. But in daily life it is not there. So there is this mismatch between telling anybody we should do something about water, and then everybody becomes the engaged water expert, but actually in everyday life it is not really there. And then it comes back to again to behavior. But behavior can be guided by added knowledge, by added information. The experts in their different fields, they're often caught in their field of expertise. They do not readily look across the borders of their field. The engineer thinks engineering. He thinks of structures, he thinks of a septic tank. He does not think that he is building the house for the microorganisms that take out the biological waste that makes the water again, etc. He knows these things as a background, but he thinks in structures, in volumes, in polluted water, and in certain parameters. So he's also not really relating very directly to water. If he goes home, he might have nothing to do with that, because that's the professional field. And like this, we deal a lot with water, like with anything else. The challenge is lack of awareness, lack of being conscious how much we are water, we deal with water, we live with and in water. And then if it comes to taught knowledge, it is chopped in different fields, in different sectors of expertise, which do not help very easily to make the picture complete again, in spite of the fact that we all have the full experience somewhere.
Number one is lazy. And when we say, okay, you had to do this 1 or 2 or 3 times a week, and people say, oh, I forgot, I will do tomorrow. And then tomorrow is tomorrow. Then you just going with your good faith and will to sell the planet, but I will do tomorrow. This is one main thing in Auroville, very common. We are lazy. The second thing is skeptical and disbelief. Then we had to go all around with the proof, and then with something we call the proof of knowledge. So far, okay. The third one is the story of the plastic. We try to engage also people in zero waste. This is why we promote refilling system, and we put this in our Portus distribution center and in Hertz. And one day we'll do in our old Portus. We try to bring conscious not only in the measures of water, but also around of water. The consumptions of Auroville, we are losing consciousness. And because we are losing consciousness because the commodity, oh, this is my don't touch my, then we are using all these chemicals. We are dumping chemicals badly, very badly, you know. We are in this wastewater treatment plant. We care like baby. But when we grow one community more, then we are to rush and to see, don't do this, don't do that, because we are trouble. Septic system. Now we had to close dumping our slush in the forest. Looking where. We are not dumping anymore, and we are looking for where. We are in crisis because we don't want to see the way to do right things. The commodity is killing us. Every time you drink water, think twice, because probably one day will be your last glass of water. Then we are going to buy water. We are going to be in the bad market of buying water. And I don't want this for Auroville and bioregion.
My hope would be to get pragmatic, in particular in one field, surface water harvesting on a certain scale in an urban scenario. That is for me one of the most fascinating challenges. We know how to do it, or we are doing it, or many people, whole cultures are doing it if it comes to farming. Terracing of paddy fields, whether it's Bali or somewhere in the hills in Dindigul district. People know how to do terracing and keeping the water at the right level, etc. How to do landscaping for a city. So how to go back and how to build Auroville with a concept of creating a water collecting urban scenario. This is one of the most fascinating challenges, and it is not rocket science, and it can be done. But that, of course, needs really collaboration and agreement, even on a smaller scale. And then hopefully, well, agreement and collaboration, which is the challenge of Auroville and the world. So nothing more to say on this regard. That is where I see the next step and where I have a vision, if I have any.
My dream is Dr. Higa's dream. Dr. Higa's dream, in 1985, he came to India for first time. He met the people from New Delhi, the people related to, in that time, to Yamuna River cleaning. In very simple words, he told, if 1/3 of the population living in Delhi use probiotics in the sink once a night, just 1 cup. You know what is 1 cup? Nothing. Every day in your sink, you clean Yamuna River. We can clean not only Yamuna River, we can clean the Ganges, we can clean any river. I had done. I know what is this. In that time, Auroville was not 3,000 people, it was 1,500. I had 1/3 of Auroville engaged in this, that is in Portus, using these probiotics. I am pretty sure we can control better our septic systems and water treatment plants. Correct? I have done that. I don't need to feel fear if there is no fresh water. I feel fear that I cannot clean one wastewater up to the levels of one fresh water. And this is my job. My job is make that wastewater to be drinkable again. And it's not drink, it's the job. This is my job. We call water rehabilitation.
For me, I dream of abundance in water, right? So I think actually there is a lot of water available on this planet. It's just in a different form, that's it. It's like in a form that we may not be able to use it for what we want to do. So maybe it's in a wastewater form and we have to treat it and then we can use it for the garden, or it's in the ocean and we have to desalinate it or do something else where we can grow vegetables with it. My vision is that actually that we have a lot of pools and ponds and water visible to us in this community. Like right now we don't see a lot of water around during the day, we just see the ocean where we have the abundance there. But I think the dream of having, you know, water surrounding Matru Mandir and all is actually an important one to manifest, and but also to see what would be the purpose of that lake. You know, it's not just an aesthetic thing, but it's also practically, you know, useful to have a lake where you can depend on for a backup supply of water, plus the wildlife that it brings in. It's not just water for us or for the sake of beauty, but also for the surrounding nature. And so I think water heals us. Water has done so much for it does so much for us every day. Without it, we would not wake up, freshen ourselves for a new day. So we also need to do something back for it, and we have to also treat it that way. So it's important that we recognize that and give back to it by treating it and reusing it and recycling it. So my vision is for abundance, but then that abundance comes from recycling and reusing it properly.
If you have ever been really thirsty, really exhausted, thirsty, looking for water, thinking you can't go on without any water, and then you get a glass of water with that pinch of salt, whatever it is, how refreshing that is. Most of us had that experience. Most of us had the experience you were really dirty and mucky and sweaty and you had a good shower. Most of us have the experience that you were really heated up and you could jump into a cold water. So water can mean so much, and everybody has experiences of water, everybody. And then you think, and then you ask people, what about water? And then they become all intellectualized and everything is chopped up into, oh, this is the environmental engineer and this is the chemist and this is the biologist, and as if we are dealing with different things. It is the same water, and we are not sensitized enough or aware enough or conscious enough and not respectful enough. We have not yet frozen any strategy. We have not yet fixed the strategy. We can still do it. In spite of decades of existence, we can do anything in Auroville in this direction.
To be conscious. We are supposed in Auroville that is the conscious city in the planet. Then we had to reestablish the consciousness, especially in the youth. We had to work with the youth and children. They are the future. Auroville today are, mostly Aurovillians today are my age. And then, okay, we are looking to have one commodity life with our basic needs covered, include the washing machine. But if we're thinking of this, it's not okay. I say it's not bad to have washing machines and dishwashers. It's just use the right ingredient to make that machine, not only to do the job, but to do the job after in our waterways. But besides of Auroville, we had one responsibility with our village around and our bioregion. We had to work with the village level. And I feel that when I engage with Village Action or Tamarai in our soap making, because we had a lot of work, we are zero waste company, no? And I give to Village Action and Tamarai soaps, but I told them, when you give these soaps, tell the village people, it's not the fragrance or the nice skin you have it's what you are doing in your canals, on your open water bodies. And they have seen that. The anchovy ladies have seen that. I want the youth of Auroville think in science. It's very low science level in Auroville. In our school, science is not the strong one. I will say education in Auroville is very good in language, conscious subjects. But when you go to science subjects, you start to flow. Education in Auroville needs to strengthen science. It's very nice the job that Pondicherry Lieutenant Governor is doing with these water bodies around, try to desilt and control the algae. She's very concerned about that. Politicians should be that consciousness, try to help people.
You know, the challenges are there, but the solutions are also coming. So I'm not somebody who will give up just like that, and I think they're there for us to surrender more and ask, and I think that's the way that I will overcome whatever comes. I believe that we have to have this mindset of abundance actually, and to see that it's all around, but it's in a different state, and we need to change the state of that water, right? And how do you change that? Well, we have to do experiments, and we're here for experiments. And there are lots of people in Auroville who have been doing experiments, treating water through vortexes and free forms and other types of treatments. So, but every time you do an experiment, you've got to measure it carefully. You've got to know what's changing, the chemical or microbiological parameters. I mean, my little effort is to actually do whatever experiments and treatment I can do here, and in a few years when it's replicable and we can demonstrate it, when people can utilize that model somewhere else. There's a lot going on right now during this year, and everybody is reflecting a lot about consuming less, using crop that's grown locally, and so this consciousness is growing. And I think the opportunity that we have right now is for all of us to actually start educating ourselves more about this very important element and resource that we have, and to see how it connects to everything that we're doing, and to all of us actually put a little bit of effort into it by, for example, stopping the leaks that we've got going on everywhere, measuring how much we use so that we're very conscious about how much we're using for various purposes, and also supporting and enhancing projects that will safeguard this resource for everyone. We are very connected to the surrounding area, so we cannot just keep talking about water for Auroville. I think we have to always talk about water for the bioregion. So we need to work on educating as well as understanding what is going on and what kind of pollution is happening there, or what kind of usage of water is going on, and try to help make a change there. So it'll require actually everyone to be conscious of it and work on spreading that message. I think just having more awareness, that people become more aware of what they're doing with water. What can you do for me directly? I think the only thing you can do is to actually be positive and open to the experiments that are going on, not just with mine, but other experiments in Auroville. Because I think that's what we have to do here, is to allow people to try new things, whatever ways they are, just allow them to and as long as they're not actually impeding on somebody else's space or energy or resource. Water usage groups and all these, the water group, and there are all sorts of groups that are there, which are really doing a great work to enhance that knowledge.
Well, when I talk with my colleagues on water, mostly with Gilles Boulicotte, that we are very good friends, we are frustrated, highly frustrated. And I understand, because also I am BCC member. I more understand, because we don't have the sources, economical sources to do. I am pretty sure that if this city was better administrated, we were not suffering where to find our money to throw our slash today, because we were planning from before and we had the sources to do that. Then engage with the water people today. I think the common thinking of all of us in water is frustration. But water in Auroville, and mothers say that we have to be careful. In the moment there is no water in Auroville is finished. I really hope Mother don't allow us to be without water one day. We had to listen to those who know about water in Auroville. Auroville and village and bioregion, we have responsibility that we cannot just take apart. We had to engage with all of them.
I don't expect anybody else to carry my dreams, right? Because it's very rare for somebody to come and say, hey, how can I help you with your dream? So, all this time I've always depended on the mother and the divine helping through people. Yeah, so in a way I call, and I guess this is a way that the call is getting answered. Unexpected that all this is coming at the same time, right? I'm quite I feel very supported that this conversation, especially with water, has come up, and that people are interested in learning more about it and knowing what they can do and how they can participate. If they already start looking around their communities and trying to understand where the water comes from and what's the quality and what's going on with the wastewater, or how things are cultivated, it's a lot. They'll already be starting to move things.
We keep trying to communicate and collaborate. No, I don't have mechanisms and strategies to make it possible. It's a question of keeping going and communicating with each other, and not only with each other, also be very open to not the experts from outside, but to create insights that are happening all over the world, because there are a lot. And all these insights can flow into what we are doing in Auroville.
The little water we have to take care of. We have to reuse the water. I have been in countries where you can drink water who has been wastewater treatment plant.
So one of my key messages is this discrimination between ecological hygiene means to live with microbes, and surgical hygiene means that little patch of skin where the surgeon has to go into the body with a knife, that should be free of all germs. And that's two different words. The other two concepts that are not, or the discrimination of two concepts is not very clear in the general mind. We know that the diversity and richness of a forest or of a field or of a meadow, of nature, depends on the nutrients in the soil. The limiting factor in the water ecosystem is the oxygen. So dissolved nutrients as few as possible. While in the soil, let it all be there. You have some waste, some biological waste on the soil, nothing wrong. It will help, it will be integrated into the soil in a most useful, productive way. That makes the forest, that makes the natural ecosystem. So the difference between the water ecosystem and the soil ecosystem, that should be clearly understood. If you have understood that, then you can take direction for where should this wastewater go? How much do we have to treat it to make it useful? Do we have to treat it? Can we put it directly into soil? And then you start thinking in cycles. Where is the aquifer? Is the aquifer deep enough? Will the dirty water reach the aquifer or not? Can we hold the water here? Where should we dispose it? So with that concept, the technology gets also kind of sorted out.
The main message that I would leave regarding this is to first is to develop an abundance mindset, that we're not actually short of water. I know that the groundwater is going down every day, right? Every day it's going down. But there are other sources of water. The rainwater is going to be abundant, so how do we transform that? So first, to change our mindset and think about the abundance. The other is to actually understand the different types of water that are there. And how do we transform from one form to another that can be used for a certain purpose. So we have to actually learn the vocabulary and also learn how that treatment can happen. So that's the second thing I would say we need to do. And the third is also to understand that we don't live in isolation, and that we have to collaborate with the surrounding area first of all, and Tamil Nadu and the rest of India, that whatever is happening here, it's not in isolation. And so the more we work with outside, the more secure we will be with our water and be able to achieve our dreams here. I think we have to surrender more. Surrender and allow things to come through. And that's how things are working in my life. And I just want to emphasize that, because that's an important part of how this place works.